So today, myself and Ray are going to bring in the mini series all into one. So we've done physical, cognitive, emotional, and today is what ties it all together. It's reflection, because everything that we go through, everything we learn, is nothing unless we can reflect on it. Because the reflection is how we can really understand context. And I think context is a massive thing. So from a leadership perspective, from a parenting perspective, advice we're given, all of that requires us to have a deeper understanding of which context does that apply and what are the long-term effects of what we're doing. So hopefully you can get something out of that for today to tie in everything you've learned so far. Right? Well, enjoy the episode. Quickly look up, the camera's watching. Yeah. So welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with your hosts, Don and
Ray.
And we're so glad that you're back and you've decided to come and either watch us because you're on YouTube, what's up?
Hi.
Or you're listening to us because you're in the car. Hey. I don't know why I said that voice. Anyway.
Yeah, why is that a car?
So we are on the last installment of the mastery bit, but
it's subset of our 12 days of Christmas. We have a little mini series built in.
The 4 bits of how to create mastery, how to recognize mastery within yourself, how to recognize mastery within others, so you know who to follow and who not to follow, because there's a lot of those people too.
So yeah,
everyone taking action that doesn't have necessarily the other bits. So
yes.
just be wary.
So it's for the mastery piece that we put in here is for yourself to work on, but also to recognize who for others that who you should kind of trust.
Yeah. So today is about reflection. This is one piece that winds that all in, because it allows you to analyze, see for yourself, either build your confidence or break it down, because there's a balance, or how to recognize within others who you should have confidence in or not have as much confidence in. Because I do think sometimes we write other people off because they may not have the cognitive mastery, but they're speaking from experience. So you also learn what to listen to. Okay. Like they may be telling you a fact that's not a fact, but that doesn't mean that they don't have that feeling that comes with it. Mm-hmm. And so if you can learn what to listen to too, like which layers you can listen to, because you know what they've gone through, that's going to allow you to really take the gold dust that they've got to give. Because I do believe everyone's got gold to give, but that it may not be a book that they've got to give you. It may be a feeling that they've got to give you that you will not find in a book. And sometimes if you've got that book knowledge, the cognitive knowledge, you will write off someone's feeling because the book says otherwise.
Yes.
But actually it's like, oh, hold on. The book doesn't know everything. It's got a context. So that's where it allows you to probably speak better languages with other people, speak their language, not be so arrogant in your approach.
So you're saying basically it's great for yourself and when you're looking at others to realize that to get true mastery, you need all three. Mm-hmm. But don't dismiss people that might only have mastery in 1 or 2 areas. Yeah,
or yourself. Okay. So I know it sounds, there's lots of layers coming in here, but it's once you start to understand at all the different levels, you will then have a way to structure up, am I listening to this person because they know what they're talking about? Am I listening to them because they feel what they're talking about or because they do what they're talking about? Or have they been through it all? And they've got what it takes to back up, so I can listen to everything. Okay. That really does help. I think it's really important this day and age because you've got a lot of information flowing about from everywhere you go. You've got old, fixed mindset people now getting to growth mindset and giving their talks. You've got the youngsters that come up. They've been given an encyclopedia from some really good influencer, and it's coming everywhere. So you've got to learn to think for yourself. That's like. I'm hoping that at the end of this, we've created the ability for you to critically think for yourself in so many different ways to create your own mastery, and it's mastery on good foundations.
So how can people use, what is reflection? How can they reflect? Because we can't talk about the importance of it, but how can they reflect? I know we've
journaling we've talked about,
and meditation, which was an interesting one that you added in there.
But I think guided meditation might be better for reflection.
Okay.
Because I think sometimes we can sit down and be like, oh, okay, I don't really know how this, but if you've got someone that knows what they're doing,
or an audio that will take you through it,
and it takes you through. Generally, when you structure it up, it's so different. And I've tried it. You can sit there, and sometimes there is a need to just sit.
Different to what?
When you try it on your own. Like if someone just doesn't know anything about meditation, again, this could be lacking the cognitive, but doing the practice.
Okay.
Like they're just sitting down there, I'm meditating, I'm sitting still. Yeah, that was amazing. I thought about nothing. But as soon as you start to add other layers in, someone that knows what they're doing, they take you on an incredible journey and you come away with wow, that's insightful. I didn't know where that came from. And they can explain it. I think that's a really good example. So you've got journaling, you've got, say, meditation, which is what you said, but you also can do other things, friends. So having conversation with friends about, like, what do you think about this? And that leads to that feedback. So feedback can come from people that aren't friends and people that are friends.
And even not your friend, but even
friends are telling
sometimes
stories.
Even sometimes you talking about it and explaining something to someone allows you to reflect on all the puzzle pieces coming together.
Writing a book is a good example. That's why they say if you want to become a key person of influence, write a book. And it's not because you want to make money off the book, but because it helps you put your thoughts all together, because you're doing practice, you're reflecting. And I think that's a really good example.
And out of interest, why, if there's 3 different types of mastery, why did you feel so like strongly about the fact that we had to have reflection as its own episode?
Great question. Because, specifically, if we're trying to help incorporate a high performance mindset, until I'd seen the reflection bit to make it more intentful and obvious as to why it fits in, I was fully on the cognitive mastery side of things. Like, I was trying to read. I wasn't even looking back at my experiences because I was like, oh, they don't really apply here. And I was doing the practice. Like, I was running the marathons. Once I had the cognitive, I was like, yeah, we're going to practice. I'm going to run the marathons. I'm going to do it again, do the 3 peaks. I'm going to do this fast. I'm going to do all of this stuff because I need to apply this cognitive mastery. But I wasn't aware that I had way more emotional mastery than I thought because of my experiences. So,
and it was only when you reflect.
Yeah, we talk about identity a lot. It's called Identity Human. Well, Don, why do you have any understanding of that? Well, think about the emotional mastery. Is I've lived on a farm, got kicked off the farm, moved country, changed identity, went straight into an all boys school, then moved 5 or 6 times every year, then restart again in Cape Town where we moved to university. So I've had lots of shifts, identities, then moving to England, which is another restart. So there's 4 massive stages in my life
and
where I've had to
from rugby.
Then retiring from rugby, which is what everyone talks about. So they've had a really settled life up until then. Whereas I've had that like practice, the emotive, but until I actually sat down with a couple of guys over a couple of weeks, it's like this really interesting coaching process. I would never have thought that would tie into Identity Human and why it means so much to me. But now that I've reflected on it, I'm like, I'm leaning into that. Like, don't talk to me on a cognitive level just about identity, because there are certain things that you're not going to be aware of that lie deeper than what we can all talk about on social media.
And it's reflection.
And it was truly just out of reflection. They made me sit and they made me talk for an hour on certain. So
either like that's where you mentioned earlier, like journaling, talking to friends,
storytelling,
meditating, like working through.
It's on Inside Out 2.
Yes.
When that old the emotion, they have like depression, anger, excitement, and then nostalgia comes through, and she's like the granny. She's got the walking stick, and she opens the door from the side. She's like, "Hi, dears, I'm here to talk about the good." And they're like, "Not yet, nostalgia." And she's like, "I'll come back later." So that's because the girl's 14 years old. But actually, nostalgia is where you get that reflection, because it reminds you of bits of who you are, what you've been through, those really deep, intensive memories that you may not think about. It allows them to pop up and release emotion. And when you release that, then your brain starts to link them with the new things that you've learned.
Okay.
And so that reflection cycle kind of ties into our circular thinking. Is it allows you to move on and move through and learn and gain new wisdom that you haven't necessarily learned before. If you go back to like episode, I don't know, there was a solo episode when I did the 5 stages of wisdom.
Okay.
It was that. It's like you take action, you learn wisdom, and then you reflect and you realize that the wisdom you learned isn't really wisdom at all. Gains you new wisdom, and then you repeat that over and over again. And that's where reflection for me ties those 3 levels of mastery in.
Okay, very cool. So what is the challenge for today?
Well, the challenge is awesome, because go and talk. I've said it in the emotional mastery, and it really ties in here. Is go and talk to someone that knows you well and ask them to reflect on who you are, what your patterns are, like some really cool stories about what they think of you.
Like, what's a question?
Can you tell me about some of the things that I did as a kid that you remember?
Okay.
Can you tell me some of the things that we did at university that you remember from your point of view? And that you just get people to start talking, and be like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Oh yeah, because it's from their point of view.
Okay.
You could journal, and we spoke to the journaling guy. Go and listen to his episode on this before. He talks about if you've got something intense to journal on, 2 hours, but it's not 2 hours one stop. It's like 40 minutes over 4 days, and see what comes out. And that reflection in journaling is going to give you some really good things to think about.
Okay.
Or go and get some feedback. So if you've got your business, ask your team for some feedback as how you've been coming across, because there'll be people around you that'll give you feedback, but they won't give you feedback unless you ask.
Okay.
So for example, I won't give people feedback unless they ask, because don't give people unwarranted attention and they're not open to it. Unless obviously there's a certain reason to, like they're a direct employee. But those people that are around you, like I could say, Ray, can you just give me some feedback on what you think I've hold your nose there if you're going to sneeze. Hold it. No, you didn't do what I said. You didn't take action. So now you've got no mastery of it. You just sneezed. It's fine. Bless you, by the way.
So are there like the key things they could do? It's between Christmas and New Year's, or I don't know when we're going to put this episode exactly. Either do like really reflect on something in your journal, like do a journal prompt where you really reflect on
a past story, a past memory,
or ask someone.
And especially if you've got something that you're trying to learn specifically, even better. So if you're trying to learn guitar playing, reflect on when you've been interested in musical instruments before, because then you might realize what music you enjoyed. So then you'll know what guitar songs to try and play. Because if you can link how those made you feel in the past with the present, you will probably apply yourself even better to learn that song.
And if you're listening to this, you might think, it's a busy time of year. I don't see how this adds value to my life. Now, remember, the purpose of us putting together these episodes was to give you 12 days where you take small action to prepare you for 2025. So if you really want to make a difference for your next year, you need to, you can listen to this episode and move on and do nothing with it, but then nothing's going to change. So if you want to see change, if you want 2025 to be the year that you achieve those things you're looking to do, then you have to change what you are doing.
I actually put a quote up from Jim Rohn tonight on Instagram that said, if you don't like something, change, just move on. You're not a tree. It's like you don't have roots that are set so deep that you can't make that difference. So if there's something that you want to change, the only thing that's stopping you from changing is you. And any excuse that just popped in your head that if you said, Don, but it's you. It genuinely is you. Any change you really, really, really 10 out of 10 want to make, you can make. But there's excuses that get in your way. And if you start to believe in them, then you're going to come short. And it could be,
I don't know why this popped in my head, but you want to quit smoking or e-cigarettes.
Quit, please.
Quit. And so there could be, there's mastery around being able to overcome an addiction. Yeah. You could have read everything, so you have the cognitive mastery, and you could have the physical, I don't know where they're related, but the emotional side might be stopping you. So this is where you really need to reflect on kind of how you overcome something.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, that's it. That's the fourth installment of our mastery. So if you want a summary, that is cognitive mastery, emotional mastery, and physical mastery, all summed up and tied together with reflection. It's going to be so important to do that bit. That's going to help you understand where you're lacking in your own mastery, where you might have mastery that you haven't thought about, the same with others, where they're lacking or where they have it that you haven't seen before. So it's going to help you critically think for yourself, what information should I take on or shouldn't I to improve my current situation or someone else's? Okay, so we'll end it there. Thank you very much for listening. We really, really appreciate you. Remember, Ubuntu, we are who we are through others. I will work on me for you if you work on you for me. Have a great day.
Should we do minimum?